So tonight for supper, the kids requested garlic bread. Since garlic bread is not a supper, I was trying to think of what I could make fairly easily. Even if I have enough time, that what garlic bread would go with. So tonight we're making spaghetti, and I've got the meat thawed. I happened to take a pound of ground beef out of the freezer the other day to thaw, so perfect. I've got that in the fridge. I do like to use pork when I can for spaghetti, but we're gonna use beef, and we're gonna use our homemade pizza sauce, our tomato sauce, as our sauce. We're going to make some homemade noodles, which is going to take the longest, and then the garlic bread, I'm actually going to use some buns I have in the freezer that we got a while back, actually from some friends who just had a huge abundance of buns left over, and so I'm going to use those, and we're gonna have garlic bread with it. Sounds good, right? So every batch of noodles I'm making calls for 4 eggs. Yes, these are store eggs. One day maybe I'll get around to preserving eggs. Usually we don't use as many eggs this time of year, but it's cold season and noodles are just so comforting right now. So I'm going to actually make a quadruple batch because you know me, I can't do anything in one batch. We need to make ahead. Family of 6, like, it's the only way we get ahead, right? So I have enough eggs that I am going to make 4 batches of noodles, and I'll have a couple left over. I have more in the fridge though. We're also going to add some salt and some flour, and then I will use some cold water. That's it. That's all the ingredients I use for making my noodles. So I've got my egg yolks and my egg whites separated. I just save these and then use these when we're cooking eggs, like for breakfast or something, or making omelets. Since it's mostly egg yolks, I am going to add a whole egg per batch. So I'm going to add 4. Keep getting shells in there. Are store eggs really that much more flimsy? All right, so you could so make this in a bowl. But what fun is that? My kids actually usually like to help making noodles because I like to make it on a pan. I just use my Sillipat-like sheet, and I have an eggshell in there. How'd that happen? And I make basically a volcano. So bear with me. I'm gonna pour this flour on here. I need to measure it first. Make sure I have the right amount. I'm probably gonna need another bag of it actually. I can't recall if I've ever actually shared how I make noodles, which is kind of funny because it's just really fun, but it's definitely like a messier thing I make. So I'm like, maybe that's why I haven't done it. Like, I worry, I'm saying like a lot. I worry what people think of my method, but I know other people do it this way and it's fun. So a great thing to do with the kids. They're too busy doing homework, so maybe they'll help me in a minute, but not right now. And there's snow outside. So I have a feeling when they're done with their homework, they're gonna wanna run and play quick before dark so that I'll be on my own for making this. Got my flour. Now I'm just using up some real cheap flour. I've got one more bag to use up, and then I'll be on to my somewhat better quality stuff. It is really nice. You can order things from Sam's Club right online, and I can't remember if there's a minimum amount, but if you have a membership, they'll ship it to you for free. How do you want it to erupt? Like make it blow up into the air?
No. It break the sides. Some of the sides.
It usually comes leaking out a side. I got one more to add. I don't know. I don't think I can get it in there without it exploding.
But it's not gonna explode.
All right. I made those 4 batches, and I'm just gonna split them up a little bit so that they're more manageable chunks. Now I have my pasta cutter on my KitchenAid mixer, or it will be on there, that I'm going to be using. But before I had that, I made the same recipe, and I would just roll it out with a rolling pin and cut it with a pizza cutter to make it a little more slick. Now I'm gonna see, I think maybe like a dozen is gonna be a good size. So this is a quadruple batch, so maybe like 3 balls for a single batch would be a manageable size for me. Oh, which I'm not gonna end up with because I just realized I'm cutting them in half. So 3, we'll see. So mine are gonna be a little bit smaller, so maybe like 4. That'll work. I've got 16. Now, when I first used my pasta roller, I didn't think it worked super great. So I did some research and just trial and error, and it really does seem to be better almost the more flour I have on my pasta. And the funny thing is, when you go to cook it, most of that flour comes off anyways, so you don't really need to worry so much about overdoing it. I'm sure there's a line with that, but that's my experience. And I just kind of make a little disc in my flour to start with. Keep washing my hands. I should have set up my pasta roller first. So this has a little knob on it of how thick you want your dough. And I always start at 1. This is just what the user manual says, and I have just followed that, and it's worked great. It says to use your mixer on speed 2, so I start it just like this. Now I'm going to shut it off just so I can talk to you. Usually I just keep it going. What I'm going to do, it came out, is I will kind of fold this more into a rectangle shape. And I'm going to do another thickness, so I don't need to stress too much over this, but I'm going to put it through again so it's closer to a rectangle. It's pretty floury, but you can see it looks a lot more like what you would expect. All right, now, before you start, make sure you have somewhere to set it. That one was something else. As much as I'd like the kids to help with this process, I don't currently let my kids help because I think it is pretty dangerous. If you had a hand roller, I think I would feel a little more comfortable with it, especially if they're the ones doing the handle. So I have 4 batches, but I'm just gonna do 1 for the sake of showing you and getting my supper going. And then as my supper is cooking, I can make more noodles. So then I'm going to move this knob, and I do 3, again, just that's what it recommends. And we're gonna put it through again. I have it on 2. Oop, I don't want it that fast. Now again, if you have the wonky shape, you can certainly use this time to go ahead and fold it and do it again and again. I'm not adding flour to these because I'm not seeing a need. If I get any sticking to those wheels, it doesn't really go through well, and then I'll add more flour if that's the case. Now I have this attachment, the roller, that can be used to make lasagna noodles, so that's something I would love to do. I might actually use one of these batches to make some lasagna noodles because that's kind of fun. But that's something I would love to do sometime. So just real easy, make some lasagna noodles. And really, if you're making any noodle, this is such a great base. And the next step is to take my roller off. And again, I'm going to do my other ones later, so I will use this again. And I'm going to be making spaghetti. The funny thing is, if I buy spaghetti, or if I buy noodles to make spaghetti, I never buy spaghetti noodles. I buy like the angel hair pasta. So it's kind of fun to use this because we otherwise don't have spaghetti. So now I like to have somewhere ready to set this. I'm gonna flour these up pretty good because I don't want them sticking these little spaghetti noodles. And I have a towel ready on a table just to lay these on. I do have a drying rack for my pasta that my mom got me. Unfortunately, I can only hang a small amount on that drying rack, so I use that more for storage. So if I'm going to be drying some noodles and storing them. So I am hoping to store some of these, so I probably will put some on there, and then they'll be dry fairly quickly. I've been playing around with using dried noodles just in jars, but I've been just iffy about the safety aspect of it. So best practice, I guess, is to freeze your noodles. So I probably will freeze some of these. Now, I haven't had great luck with that, so I think I might try just using them fairly soon. And with our busy season, that's not going to be a problem. I should be able to use them fairly quickly. All right, so I'm running this on the slowest setting because I gotta be able to catch spaghetti as it's coming out. And I actually have noodles under it, so there's that. You know, I think I might do these in shorter sheets. As much fun as it is to have long spaghetti, I think I might cut these. Make it a little easier. I'm kind of cramped right now in here. These are just gonna sit on over on my towel. All right, that's it. Pasta, I'm going to let this sit for a little while. I find that if I let it sit a little bit, it gets less stuck together. Because I floured it so much, it won't get stuck together. I found when I didn't flour it as much, it would. So I'm gonna set this aside for a little while, probably like half an hour, but really my main goal is to just get the rest of supper going because noodles cook so fast. Since I'm not using this dough right away, which ideally I would like to be, I'm gonna cover it with a damp, cool rag until I can get to it. Now, I got a wonderful sausage recipe from Kathy over at North Star Prepsteader, and oh, I got that right in the face, raw meat, gross. I got a wonderful sausage recipe from Kathy over at North Star Prepsteader, and I am going to kind of add a lot of those seasonings to this because it is so good. I know this is beef, but it'll still taste really good in our spaghetti. Our beef is really lean, so sometimes I will add some type of fat to it to cook it. Just adding some avocado oil because this is right here. I'm gonna actually add some more. It's sticking to the pan. Fennel. Just gonna use some garlic powder. Some salt. Might as well leave this out, I'll need it. Some pepper. Some sage. Ooh, this is the end of this sage. Got some more drying. Blew through that this year. So not quite all the way dry. like that first in between stage. That should be good. Set this aside. All right. A little bit of thyme. Rosemary. Whoop. There's one thing I don't want too much of. Parsley. This one was sealed. Also from the greenhouse this year. Cayenne. Don't add too much. And the one I can never pronounce, marjoram. Now this is going to taste delicious whether I add all these spices or not. This is our, oh my goodness, I'm making a mess. I can't talk and cook. This is our grass-fed ground beef. Matt's brother actually raised this cow, and we are so blessed to be able to have this in our house. So I'm also going to add a little bit of maple syrup. I just think it adds something sweet. It just smells so good in here. All right, well this is cooking. I'm gonna sneak down to the root cellar and get some tomato sauce. Wanna come with? All right, I promise I will share an update on this soon. Got a lot going on in here. I think we're pretty much what you would call done for the year. You know, there's always something more you're gonna be adding, but as far as things go, I think we're pretty much done for the year. I think I'm gonna use 2 jars. Just make it go a little bit further. Whenever I'm down here, I also like to take some time to stir up, if you will, my vanillas. So I have a few going. This one is a vodka vanilla, and then I have 2 jars of Everclear vanilla because, yeah, why not? We had it. This is where I'm keeping that dried spaghetti. This is kind of like my experiment spaghetti. I just kind of want to see what happens to it. If it goes moldy, then I know it absolutely is not okay. But anything in between, I'm not really sure. Not really sure. I've gotten such mixed advice, and maybe you guys can kind of give me your input, but I've gone back and forth with it, done so much research. Some people are like absolutely okay. Other people are like absolutely not okay. Some people are like, it's because of the eggs. Other people are like, no, you just can't store food like that. But we'll see. You can freeze it, so that is definitely an option. I just didn't love the quality after I froze it. And that could have just been, that was long before I had a pasta cutter, so that could have been part of the problem. All right, so I've got all these hot dog buns. I probably should have taken them out a little while ago so I could easily break them apart. But I'm just gonna lay these on here. Now this is our favorite way to use whenever we have like a birthday party or a gathering and we have leftover hamburger or hot dog buns. Naturally we'll use a few. We love egg sandwiches in the mornings, we'll use them for that. And sandwiches, burgers, things of that nature. But if we can't get to them, we throw them in the freezer, and we find that they just don't taste the same. I think if you put them in the oven, they're not quite as bad, just to kind of refresh them. But they make the best garlic toast. So no, not homemade bread, but free buns that somebody didn't want. So I'm going to put these on here, and then usually I'll put just a little bit of butter, and then either garlic salt if it's unsalted butter, or garlic powder if the butter has enough salt in it. And then I will add mozzarella or cheese or something some of the time, but not all the time. Today I am actually using garlic butter that I have in the fridge that I've been meaning to use for a while because the kids keep asking me to make garlic toast. And I swear this makes the best garlic toast. It is so good. So it's just garlic butter, but I'm not even sure it's real butter. Oh, it has Parmesan cheese and basil in it. That's probably why I really like it. That's his butter. Since I have a little bit, I'm just gonna put a little slab of butter on all of these. I've got the oven on heating up, and our oven will heat up the back here pretty quickly. So I can let these sit a little and the butter will be a little bit more spreadable, I'm sure. If I had a dairy cow, would I make garlic butter with Parmesan cheese and basil in it? Doesn't that sound so good? More shameless plugs for my dairy cow. You know, one day, like 10 years from now, I'll have a dairy cow and I'll be like, why did I want this? This is so much work. What was I thinking? I don't have time for this. I'll be like, I am too old for this. Maybe not 10 years from now. Let's hope not. Always check them. Now, if I had a little more time on my hands, I probably would have you can't see me. If I had a little more time on my hands, I probably would have sauteed some onions, some garlic, some spinach, added it. But if I had less time on my hands, I would have just browned the meat, thrown in the sauce, and it'll still be good. So Matt and I have found over the last few years that we salt our food more and more. The more things we do on our own, the more we salt our food. And I think it's that we just don't have it in our diet otherwise. So it's just funny how much more salt we add than we used to. Woo! Hot noodle.
Time to eat, fellas.
Look how much I'm getting.
All right, we got one in the bathroom still. But thanks for joining me while I made spaghetti. And
Glad
you see me again.